Welcome to Search Talk Live with search engine optimization and marketing experts Robert O'Haver and Caleb McKelvin, powered by the Robert Palmer family of companies.
And welcome back to another episode of Search Talk Live. I'm Robert O'Haver. With me is my co-host Caleb McKelvin. Caleb, how's it going?
Doing great, Rob. Ready to be back in the studio. So glad we are here doing another episode of Search Talk Live. As always, I think we got a pretty good one.
Yes, definitely. We have a great guest on lined up here.
Yes.
One thing I want to talk about, I want to give a shout out to some of our promoters, our helpful people that help that retweet our tweets and all this other stuff. One of them I wanted to mention was Michael Strecker. He's been a real big help in helping us spread the word about the show and been very supportive. We really appreciate that.
Absolutely.
And anybody else that I didn't mention, thank you very much.
Yes, we've had Michael on the show as well. And that's an awesome episode to check out. If you go to searchtalklive.com, which I highly advise that you do, go there, check it out. You can check out our episode with Michael. It's a really awesome one. He brought some awesome content to the show, as well as the many other great episodes of Search Talk Live that we've had. Especially the ones here recently have been very good. So go check out searchtalklive.com previous shows, and you can check all that out.
Yes, definitely. If you're listening to us on SoundCloud or it's your first time listening to the show, we talk about everything from search engine optimization, conversion optimization, social media, paid search, you name it.
Yes.
We cover it all. So you can call into the show at any time you like. You can ask our guest a question, or you can ask us a question. Yep. The number here is 855-722-0006, option 1. Again, it's 855-722-0006.
Yes, and you can also do it on Twitter as well, at Search Talk Live. And we will be having our emails up, so if you want to email me at Caleb at searchtalklive.com, please feel free to do so, and we'll get your questions in. Yeah,
or just do hashtag Search Talk Live. We can answer your questions that way. All right, well, everybody's anticipating Penguin being released here, and probably they said to Q1, so that's we're getting down to like 2-3 weeks before Q1's over. So I hope you're all prepared. You've done all your disavows on the spam stuff you've gotten out there, and that you're prepared for this release, because be proactive and fix those things before that comes out, because it's from here on out it will be automated. Yeah. So those things will be picked up pretty quick, and there's no really, I mean, honestly, people trying to get spammy links and stuff like that, that stuff's going to be picked up very quickly. You're not going to rise to the top and then fall to the bottom, and stay up there. You're going to fall to the bottom pretty quickly, or even probably won't even make it to the first page. Like you used to. But our guest today, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. You're good.
Our guest today is a 3-time author on SEO books and social e-commerce. And with us today is Stephan Spencer. Stephan, how's it going?
Hey, it's going great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us.
Yes, definitely. So let's talk some geek, guys.
Yeah. Well, to get started, Stephan, I know kind of in the SEO realm, you're pretty well known, but some of our listeners, might not necessarily have much knowledge. So if you could just kind of introduce yourself, who you are, and what you got going on.
Sure. So I have 3 books, all published by O'Reilly. The most famous one is The Art of SEO. That's now in its 3rd edition. It's almost 1,000 pages, 994 pages. Wow. So that's a beast.
Yeah.
It's quite a doorstop. My friend Amy Africa, who's in the usability industry, says it's better than Ambien. I don't know if that's a compliment, but I'll take it as one. Yeah. Well, I also have Social E-commerce. I'm lead author on that one. And then Google Power Search. I'm solo author on that one. That's all about how to find anything in Google as a user. Everything from confidential business plans of your competitors to forced research reports that normally cost thousands of dollars to even I found credit card number files with expiration dates.
Oh, my gosh.
It's crazy what you find in Google if you have the power user tips and tricks. So, so those are my books. I've been doing SEO since the 90s. I started Net Concepts in 1995. That was my agency. I sold it in 2010 to Covario, and they in turn got acquired in 2014 by Dentsu Aegis, the ad agency conglomerate who also owns iProspect. And since I sold in 2010, I quickly did my earn out and went off on my own and just have been doing book writing and speaking and working with clients individually, and just having a lot of fun. I followed Tony Robbins around for a few years doing platinum partnership.
Very cool.
Wow.
Big into masterminds and self-development stuff. I've got a couple podcasts. In fact, one is all about self-development and personal transformation called The Optimized Geek. So you said you want to geek out.
There we go.
That's all about me. I'm a geek from the word go. So
very cool.
Yep. And then my other podcast is called Marketing Speak, which is all about primarily online marketing. I've had Jay Abraham on and John Lee Dumas, Neil Patel, and so forth. So, yeah, keeping busy.
It definitely sounds like it. That's a full plate right there, but you're definitely doing some good stuff, sharing a lot of knowledge, and we appreciate it. The art of SEO, and the reason I kind of want to touch on this, when I first got started in the industry, it was probably your first edition, I believe it was. I got a entry-level job, and my boss handed me that book and said, here you go. Study this. This is basically your textbook. And it was an awesome resource, and I learned so much from it. And I highly advise anybody just getting started in the industry, even those that have advanced level. It's an awesome thing just to kind of refresh your memory, to learn new things, all the advanced tactics and stuff like this. But I'll kind of let you speak on it for a minute. Kind of who do you think this book is for? What can they expect to learn from it? And, why does somebody in the SEO industry, under any umbrella, digital marketing, content marketing, SEM, why do they need to pick this book up?
Right. So this book is an essential reference. It's used as a textbook in universities. It's used as a reference book by SEOs from newbies to the most advanced. It is a primer on how to go from A to Z in SEO. It covers penalties, it covers tools and algorithm updates and keyword research, metrics, analytics, technical aspects such as rewrite rules for URL rewriting and XML sitemaps, robots.txt.
Wow.
Pretty much everything from soup to nuts.
Yeah.
And here's a nice bonus for all your listeners. I've been given permission by my publisher, O'Reilly, to gift everybody who emails my assistant a copy of one of my 3 books. So you get to choose, and I can't give the URL directly out because my publisher asked that it not be widely distributed. So please, if you do receive the link, if you've sent an email to my assistant, admin@stephanspencer.com, please do not share it outside of yourselves, not even internally within your companies. This is just for you. If you're listening right now, you're going to get a copy of one of the 3 books, and I'd probably suggest The Art of SEO because that one is the monster.
Absolutely.
Wow, that's
a
bonus.
Yes, that is an awesome gift, and we definitely appreciate that from you and your publisher, O'Reilly, and definitely something our listeners should take advantage of because you're not going to get that kind of opportunity every day. Actually, you'll never probably get that opportunity again, so definitely take advantage of it.
Right. Yeah. If they wanted to get the books, where can they pick them up? I mean, other than, the one you're giving away.
Yeah, everywhere books are sold.
There you go.
Amazon, of course, Barnes & Noble. If you just walk into any Barnes & Noble, I pretty much guarantee it'll be on the bookshelf.
Nice.
It's pretty widely distributed. Yeah, we've sold tens of thousands of copies, and it's got lots of accolades. So, yeah, definitely I recommend it. I'm slightly biased.
Yeah.
But it's a great book.
Yeah, very nice.
So do they email us or do they?
No, it was admin@stephanspencer.com, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Yes.
STEPHAN.
Yes. So y'all check out that, send that email to Stephan's assistant and make sure you take advantage of that.
I know I will.
Yes. Yes. Well, now I believe it's in the 3rd edition, I think is what you mentioned. Considering that you've been doing SEO and search engine optimization since the 90s, with this 3rd edition and everything that's, happened over the recent months, even, over the past couple of years, there's probably a lot of changes that people need to learn about in this book, correct?
There are, and just the way that Google rolls out changes continuously, it's impossible to have a book be completely up to date. So this book came out in August, and that is a very recent book. So granted, you're not going to find stuff in there about AMP, for example, and the screenshots aren't going to have the right side ads disappearing because that's recent, right? But pretty much everything, there's a whole content marketing and link building chapter, for example. There's a whole chapter on penalties, Penguin, Panda, and various other penalties, manual actions, and so forth. It's really a good primer. So the second edition was only 750 or so pages from memory. It's basically 200 more pages now in the third edition, and every chapter has been significantly updated. And some tools were removed, some tools were added, new metrics were added, just a ton of stuff, new chapters, etc.
Yeah. Very cool.
Nice. So, I mean, it is soup to nuts. You have tools in there. You have all the penalties, and that's perfect.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's not everything in the book because that would be like a 5,000-page book. And plus, we want to kind of keep some stuff close to the chest, right?
There's some understandable
secrets that make me special compared to other folks out there, and I don't want to lose all of my competitive advantage. So, I mean, this is just the way it is, right? You go to go to a conference. I was just at SMX West. I spoke there, and I was sharing really good stuff. But you don't share all your secrets from the stage because your competition's sitting in the audience taking notes, and of course they're not going to give credit when they say, Mr. or Ms. Client, check out this cool thing that I want to show you, or look what I've found for you. They're not going to say, oh, and I found it from Stephan Spencer.
You're right.
So, Stephan, do you have a training course at scienceseo.com, or do you still have that, or?
I am working on a new version of that. It's scienceofseo.com, and also I'm working on a live 3-day seminar called Traffic Control.
Nice.
Oh, nice.
That's at trafficcontrol.co. And because I'm passionate about sharing knowledge and experience and my excitement for SEO with as many people as possible. So I want to do a lot of speaking. I want to do in-depth workshops and seminars. I do 2-day workshops for the American Marketing Association, but now I figure I want to do my own events where I call the shots completely, and let's make it 3 days, make it very experiential, very kind of intensive, work through different solutions and walk away with a roadmap, not just a bunch of notes. Oh yeah, I need to do that. I need to do that. I need to do that.
Right.
Yeah, because the difference between a bunch of education, I guess it's the way I'd say it is, it's the difference between information and transformation.
Yeah.
Right? Most conferences, most seminars, it's all about information. I want to be about transformation. For example, I'm going to attend a seminar later this week, and it's called Celebrity Launchpad. And basically, it's all about the transformation. Yeah, I'm going to learn a lot, but the idea is I'm going to be able to get onto local TV on news stations talking about whatever I want if I have a good pitch. I've got a segment proposal, and I've got relationships that come out of this 4-day workshop that include TV news producers from all over the country. Mm-hmm. So they're flying in for this.
Yeah.
And so that's transformational because I'll walk out of that 4-day event with my pitch that I can call any news producer with a segment proposal that I can email them as soon as I get a positive indication while on the phone with them that they actually want to consider having me on their news segment. And then I'll have all these connections. I'll be pitching live in front of TV news producers. I'm guaranteed to get at least 3 segments.
Wow.
Out of this. So that's the kind of thing I want to offer in my seminars. Transformation. You walk away with not just knowledge, but like the plan.
Yeah. the power.
That's huge. Because, I mean, I feel like, especially in SEO, you go to these conferences, you hear people speak, you have all this stuff. You seem like you get these notes and you get this, okay, here, here's what you need to be doing, but not necessarily how you're going to implement or execute that strategy. So having something like that can help people kind of put, their feet on the ground, start moving forward, and actually being successful in what they've learned. So that's huge. If you're just tuning into Search Talk Live, you're here with Robert O'Haver and Caleb McKelvin. We have our guest, SEO guru, Stephan Spencer. We really appreciate him taking the time with us today. If you want to call in with your questions, please hit us up at 855-722-0006, 855-722-0006. Hit option 1. You'll be directed over to our main man, Dave. We always appreciate him working with us, managing the boards, the phones, and powering the show for us. We are sponsored by the Robert Palmer family of companies. We really appreciate Robert Palmer and all he does for Search Talk Live. You can go to robertpalmercompanies.com. Check out everything there, from getting a mortgage to learning about financial advice to everything else he's got going on. A lot of cool stuff. So make sure you check that out. Stephan, I know you've been in the industry for a long time. You got a lot of stuff going on in SEO, and you had mentioned it earlier with tools. And I feel like if you're in SEO, you're using certain tools every single day to help you, help your clients, help your own business, whatever it may be, under any umbrella of SEO. What's your favorite tools? What do you think, what's helped you, and what should people be using on their daily basis?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I'm really passionate about tools. I've written about tools not only in the art of SEO, but in various search engine land articles. I just love geeking out on tools. Yeah. So let's categorize these into different buckets, like keyword research tools. I use, of course, the Google AdWords Keyword Planner. I use keyword tool.io. I go into Google Trends and I choose the option to, instead of the web search, which is the default, I'll switch to YouTube search, and now I can search on how many searches happen for various keywords in YouTube, the number 2 search engine. I use if I want to basically hack into, so to speak, the competitors' keyword lists. What I'll do is I'll use search metrics, and I'll use SEMrush to basically look at the keywords that the competitor is ranking for and estimated traffic volumes. I'll also use SimilarWeb for that, and let's see. So I guess this is kind of a mix there between keyword research and competitive intelligence tools.
Yeah.
Also, as far as competitive intelligence, there's SpyFu, and let's see what else. I love SimilarWeb for looking at what your competitors are doing, not just on the web, but also in the app stores, both Google Play and the iTunes store. So that's pretty cool. I don't know a lot of places where you can get that kind of data. There are a couple of YouTube tools that I really like. Besides the Google Trends tool for keyword research, YouTube-specific keyword research, I also like Voot, VOOT.net, and Video Amigo. Both are by TouchStorm and offer different features. Voot will track your search rankings in YouTube. In the number 2 search engine, you can actually track where you're placed in the search results for various keywords. And I don't know of really very many tools that do that. They'll check your Google rankings. There is one tool that I've just started using pretty recently called Rank Ranger that does track Google, Bing, Yahoo, and YouTube search rankings. So that's really cool. Nice. There's a bunch of really amazing features with Rank Ranger. So now I'm getting into rankings trackers. So Rank Ranger is fantastic. I also like Authority Labs a lot. Been using that for a long time. Of course, Moz has a rankings tracker as part of their tool set. As far as overall tool sets are concerned, Moz is great. Moz.com Open Site Explorer and keyword difficulty tool and all these different tools inside of there. But Open Site Explorer is the one I use the most inside of Moz. Let's see. So Raven Tools is another tool set that is quite cool.
Yeah.
Let's get into the link analysis side of things, and then we're talking about tools such as, of course, Open Site Explorer from Moz, Majestic, and Ahrefs, and link research tools. I love link research tools. I love all these tools. I use them all the time. But the thing is if you just pick one, let's say you're doing link analysis, and you just pick one tool, the problem with that is you're kind of missing part of the web. Their algorithm is different from the other tools' algorithms. They're all approximations of how PageRank works and TrustRank works. And, so I like being able to see a diversity of tools and look for corroborating evidence.
Yeah, I'm exactly the same way, because you can tell, like, if you go from SEMrush to Moz, those are totally different.
Yeah.
You get totally different data
well, they're
sets.
both providing excellent information. It's just they're missing on certain things. They kind of compensate for each other. So diversity definitely is a big thing.
Yeah.
Yep. And then as far as crawling tools, of course, there's the free Xenu Link Sleuth, which will check for broken links and so forth. But that's PC only. I'm a Mac user. Yeah, I have Parallels installed, but I don't like booting that up. So my preference is either Screaming Frog, which is an installed program, PC or Mac, or if you have a really industrial strength situation where it's a very large scale website, and it's probably Screaming Frog is not the ideal tool for that. Deep Crawl is amazing. So that's a lot of tools. And one more I'll add to the I'll call this category influencer outreach. And Pitchbox is the tool record in that category. So if you want to outreach to influencers to get them to link to your awesome content marketing campaigns, doing the prospecting, finding the influencers based on a certain threshold of Clout Score and Moz Rank and so forth, being able to have this tool scrape domain whois information and the websites for contact details of the various folks at these organizations, and then prioritize those lists. Right, so you might start at the marketing director's email address, but then if that doesn't get through or get responded to, you might end up with the PR department or the webmaster or so forth. And so it handles all that. And it handles the I guess call it workflow.
Yeah,
it's kind of like Salesforce.com, but for outreach.
Right. Well, I can tell, being heavily into content marketing myself, one of the biggest things was doing the research, finding the contact information, doing the outreach. Did they respond? Did they not? Having something that can put all that together and kind of streamline it for you and keep it organized is huge. So that sounds pretty useful tool for anybody out there in content marketing. Pitchbox, correct?
Yeah, Pitchbox.
Very cool. I'm sure people just heard a whole list of tools. Their mind might be blown a little bit, but if you
I could go on.
Right. If you were looking for tools, Stephan just gave you a bunch that will help you.
That's a massive toolbox.
Yes, that's a huge toolbox. So your head might be spinning a little bit, but that was definitely an awesome list. Is there anything else you use or want to mention?
Well, there's tons more, but I'll mention one more. That this one's super simple. It's free. It is really cool. It's not technically an SEO tool. It's more of a social media tool, but it's called NameCheck, namechk.com. And what it does is you put in your username, let's say your brand name, your company name, your personal name, and you have it checked to see if your name is taken on all the different social networks, all the various social media sites, and not just the top tier ones like Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and YouTube and that, but also the second and third tier ones.
Yeah.
Right. So is your username taken on Last.fm, on Ustream, on Vimeo, on Bitly, on like dozens and dozens of different social sites simultaneously? It just checks them all, and then if it's available, it's in green. If it's not, it's in red, and then you can click on the green buttons to register those so that you don't end up getting cyber squatted on.
Wow. Yeah. Oh, very nice. Very cool.
Even if you don't intend to use it, just lock that name up.
Yeah, right. Nobody else can take it.
Yeah, sometimes I wonder when I'm on GoDaddy, surfing for domains. And, the next day I go back and it's gone. I'm like, dude, these guys are fishing for this stuff. No.
Yeah.
Who knows? But anyway, yeah. So what is your predictions? Like, like we were just talking about earlier before we introduced you, we were talking about the release of Penguin. What are your thoughts on Penguin being automated and that type of stuff?
Well, actually, let me invite your listeners to go more than just a year out, because here's the challenge, because we think linearly. That's just the way our brains are wired.
Sure.
So if, for example, you look at the horizon, you're not thinking, wow, I'm sitting on a globe or I'm standing on a globe. You're looking at the horizon thinking it's linear, right?
Yeah.
But it's not, of course. We know that. And yet our brains don't default to that. So when we look into the future and try and predict what are things going to be like in 5-10 years' time, we think linearly, and we can't, because that's not the way the world works. Technology is advancing at a faster and faster clip. It's accelerating. This is the law of accelerating returns, because of Moore's law, because of Metcalfe's law, because of just the speed at which innovations are happening. It's pretty amazing. And so 5 years out, we are going to be in a very different world. And to think, oh, well, we're just going to have to get better at SEO like we have been for the last 5 years is just ridiculous. I mean, you think about, okay, well, there's RankBrain, and it's powering 15% of all search queries and so forth and so on. Okay, well, that's interesting. But what happens when all of the rankings algorithm is determined by artificial intelligence?
Right.
You cannot reverse engineer the black box anymore. I mean, maybe you could have your own AI trying to figure out the signals that the AI that Google is using.
Yeah, it becomes dynamic at that point, where it's you think it's changing now.
Yeah, I mean, it's impossible to tease out the signals. Then, I mean, you can try to guess it, but we've never had the situation where Google has been powered 100% by artificial intelligence, and yet it's coming.
Right.
So all of the old school rules of SEO are not really going to be applicable. It's going to be kind of common sense about, well, we got to make good title tags, of course, and write good copy and make it compelling and engaging and remarkable, right? So worth remarking about, to use Seth Godin's definition of remarkable. We have to create amazing stuff, but to say, well, I need to change this this one element to this, like the idea, for example, that people still talk about H1 tags is ridiculous, because years ago I tested and confirmed that H1 tags did not improve your rankings.
Right.
You can test it yourself. You can go onto and this is all about like having an experimental, scientific method type of approach to your SEO. Right? You have a hypothesis and you test it, and you see whether that test, if it's a valid test, whether your hypothesis was true or not. But people don't test with a scientific methodology. They have a lot of variables changing simultaneously and say, oh, look, this was an H1 tag that I added and it helped. But, well, wait a second. There was a keyword-rich phrase that you added to the top of the page. You added keyword prominence. There was no headline before it. Now you added a headline and you made it an H1. You changed too many variables at the same time. You have to add the keyword prominent headline first and then make it an H1 later to see what the impact was, or switch it from an H1 to an H6, and that's the only change you make. And now you can see what the impact was and know that it was related, or assume
measurable.
We know for sure because something could have happened over at the Googleplex. They made some tweak or whatever, and that was the reason why your rankings shifted. But you have a much better shot at making the correlation correctly, that whether it was an H1 or an H6 or a font tag, it actually doesn't matter, and it hasn't mattered for years. You could test it yourself. So it's going to be interesting times. And so, there's a lot of smaller innovations, AMP, and all these different additional feature sets and tools within Google Search Console and so forth. They are minor in comparison to where we're heading. Like, for example, now we are getting we're doing more searches on mobile devices than we are on desktop, and that's never going to go back. Okay, well, that's interesting, but what about the fact that we're going to be talking to our computers more than we are going to be typing on them, because it's very inefficient to type. If we can just speak to our computers and have our computers speak back and answer our questions and do the things that we want, that's way more efficient, and that's where we're heading. It's the age of the Louis instead of the GUI. Think how things change when you went from DOS to a graphical user interface like Windows or the Mac, and the whole world shifted. When we go from traditional typing on keyboards and on our iPhones and so forth to actually speaking all the time, that's the advent of the LUI, the linguistic user interface, and that's a fundamental shift, and you got to get ready for that, not just new thing we need to do with AMP or whatever. No, you got to think about 5 years into the future, or even just 3 years into the future.
Yeah, that's one of the things Google said at SMX. They said that you'll be able to say, show me 60-inch TV in the $1,500 range. Okay, buy the one at Best Buy. So basically that's simple. There's no steps to. It's like going from the top of the funnel to the bottom.
Right.
Yeah. Wasn't that an amazing presentation by Paul Haar? I can't believe how much they opened the kimono and shared their internal processes. That was an amazing presentation.
Yeah. We actually didn't go. We just watched some videos and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Well, his presentation is posted to the search engine land or marketing land SlideShare, and I don't know if I know they video recorded the presentation. I don't know if they made that public for everybody.
Yeah,
but I think they probably will do that.
We'll definitely have to check that out.
Yeah, it's great.
Sure. Well, I kind of want to, and we had a couple of questions about this as far as it seems a word that's thrown around constantly in digital marketing is user experience. And user experience optimization, UX, user experience, this, that. It's kind of like beating a dead horse. But it seems that it doesn't matter. The bar's been set so high. Everybody's got good content. Everybody's got great information. It looks pretty and all this. How do we set ourselves apart in the user experience? How do we give them what they want? And, how do we step up and go to the next level with user experience?
Yeah. Well, for one thing, we need to start measuring the right things.
Yeah.
Because we're measuring the wrong things. And I interviewed Jared Spool, one of the top UX experts in the world, right up there with Jacob Nielsen and Don Norman, just recently on my show, Marketing Speak. This is a great episode. You guys have to listen to it. So it's on Marketing Speak, marketingspeak.com, and then just look for the Jared Spool episode.
Okay.
Basically, the idea is that what we're tracking, because it's easy to track, things like conversion rate and time on site and bounce rate. These are meaningless or at least highly flawed metrics. They don't give us the ability to plan, to take action based on those metrics, because let's say we want to increase conversion rate. Well, as long as we don't get rid of our top buyers, right, who are finding us no matter what because they're just rabid fans of us,
right,
we could cut our marketing expenses and cut the traffic coming in from those various marketing channels in half, and we've doubled our conversion rate.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the outcome that we're after,
right?
But yet we can manipulate these ridiculous metrics in that sort of way. So what Jared talks about is measuring user frustration and user delight, and doing user testing. Like when he gets people into a room to test them on their frustration levels using a website, he'll take a piece of masking tape. He'll make 5 marks on that piece of masking tape. Puts that masking tape on the table next to the user. Puts a quarter in the center. He's got on one end of the masking tape a frowny face, and on the other end a smiley face. And dead center is the quarter. And then as the user is starting to do the tasks that have been given to him or her, that person's asked to keep moving the quarter, or Jared will ask, is the quarter in the right place?
Mm-hmm.
And they'll move it if it's not, and then they'll start moving it more towards the frowny face. And as things get more and more frustrating, they're just going to start moving that on their own. You don't even have to ask them anymore, and that gives you a much better sense for where are things kind of going off the rails with your website. Right? Maybe the checkout process is really convoluted. Maybe you're requiring them to create an account before, and then they forget what their password is because they haven't been in for a long time, and then they have to do a password reset, and then they're waiting for the email to come in, and you just lost the order.
Yep.
So how do you measure that with these kind of ridiculous metrics that we're using these days, like time on site and bounce rate and so forth? Mm-hmm. You can't. You need to get people in a room and study their behaviors and ask them for their feedback in order to understand what's happening, or at least tease out the metrics that matter. Right? So go ahead.
Is that do you think that's a large enough data set? I mean, to get enough to make that decision?
Well, it depends on how many users you're going to go through user testing. But let's say you don't even do user testing, but you have other things in place that you're trying to get a sense for the customer satisfaction. Right. And Jared talks about this too. That's really awesome. He says, talking about user satisfaction or customer satisfaction is as bad as talking about how edible the restaurant's food is. Right? So is it slightly edible? Is it very edible? Is it strongly edible? Or is it strongly inedible? That's just ridiculous. Nobody talks in those kinds of terms. And we're talking about, are you satisfied? Are you mildly satisfied? Mildly unsatisfied? I mean, it's just,
gotcha.
Who talks like that? That does not get at the sense of how, whether there's delight in the experience or not. So we got to change our terminology and change our methodology for getting customer feedback. Like he hates Net Promoter, for example. Cravario, who acquired Net Concepts, acquired my previous company, were really big into Net Promoter, and Jared just rails on Net Promoter. He thinks it's just the worst thing, and instead he recommends the Gallup CE11, I think is what it's called, as an alternative. Yeah, the CE11. So there's a lot to think about here, but bottom line is think outside the box in terms of you need to collect different kinds of metrics than what your traditional Google Analytics or whatever analytics platform you're using is feeding you, because you have to have actionable metrics. Analytics is just stuff that can be measured automatically. It doesn't mean it's good stuff.
Right.
You can measure automatically how many E's appear on the page, and you can come up with some correlations like, companies that have more E's on their homepage tend to sell for larger multiples when they get acquired. I'm like, it's just like, really? That's ridiculous. But you can find that correlation if you want. So you have to come up with metrics that have some meaning that you can then take action on.
Gotcha. Now, if you're just tuning in to Search Talk Live, you're listening to Robert O'Haver and Kayla McKelvin. We have our special guest here today, SEO guru, SEO expert, Mr. Stephan Spencer, here talking to us about SEO and answering questions. If you have questions, you can call on in at 855-722-0006. That is 855-722-0006, and hit option 1. And our man Dave will answer the phone and get you on air with your question, or you can tweet at us at Search Talk Live and email us at caleb@searchtalklive.com. Also, a shout out to our main sponsor, the Robert Palmer family of companies, and Robert Palmer. You can go to robertpalmercompanies.com, check out all they have to offer there. Definitely check it out when you get an option. Stephan, kind of some of our user questions that we have coming in. And one of them is about the challenges that SEOs today face. What are some of the main challenges that they face? And as we move forward in 2016, I know we talked about, looking ahead 5 years from now, but as currently as right now, what are some of the major challenges or some of the major mistakes that you might see with SEOs?
Yeah, there are a lot of technical details to look after, and a lot of these things get missed. So I'll just give you a few just off-the-cuff examples. Mm-hmm. But the idea here is you have to have such technical acumen and rigor in your SEO these days, and it's getting more and more complicated. So let me give you a few examples. First off, let's say that you want pages to get dropped out of the index. Some pages are making their way into the search results, and you don't want them there. Right. Maybe they're login pages for the back-end admin area of the site or whatever. And so you add a disallow directive to the robots.txt. Mm-hmm. Bad idea.
Yeah,
bad idea.
Ignored, yeah.
Well, because your outcome is to get those pages dropped from the index,
right?
Dropped from the search results. What this does is it says, hey, Googlebot, don't come and visit these pages anymore.
Doesn't tell them.
Yeah, that's a little different, right? So that then you end up with all these pages that have really lousy search listings that say something to the effect of this in the snippet. This listing doesn't have any information about it because of the robots.txt exclusion directives or whatever. Mm-hmm. Whatever it says. I'm sure you've probably seen that before in search results.
Yeah.
Sure.
The reason why is because those pages have been disallowed from being accessed by Googlebot, but they still show up in the search results. So you want these pages removed from the search results, you have to use a no index. So there's two ways to do a no index. One is through a meta tag, the meta robots no index meta tag. But then you have to remove the disallow from the robots.txt.
Right.
Otherwise, Googlebot will never discover that meta tag because you've told it don't come in here. So how would it find the meta tag that says drop these pages from the index?
Right.
So that's one thing. And the other alternative is to not use a robots.txt disallow, but a robots.txt no index, which most people will have never heard of. But it is an actual valid directive that you can use. It only works with Googlebot, and it's an unsupported, unofficially supported, I should say, feature. So at any time, Google can stop obeying that no index directive. So you're better off using the meta tag approach because that works for Google and Bing, and it's got long-term viability. You don't know if the no index directive in the robots.txt will be around and valid in a year's time. Mm-hmm. But it's a quick and dirty way to deal with it if you want to just deal with Googlebot. Or Google and not worry about Bing. So you just add a user agent Googlebot line to your robots.txt, make all those no indexes, or all those disallows into no indexes, and then you're going to also have a user agent star. I'm really geeking out here, I know. User agent star for every other bot. and there you're going to have the disallows. And the reason why you do it like that is because you need the disallows there for the other, for Bing bot and so forth. But for Google bot, they're going to obey that no index. And so you'd have it for them, and they're going to ignore the user agent star because they found a user agent Google bot set of directives that's specifically for Google. So that's the only part of the robots.txt that's going to be paid attention to by Google.
Yeah.
So you get these kinds of really technical nuances that most people don't even think about. Or let's say that you do a big site move, right? So you're moving from one domain to another, or you're moving from one e-commerce platform to another, right? And so you got a whole slew of 301 redirects present. Well, what most people do is they 301 everything from the old site to the new site.
To the home
Bad
page.
idea. Well, that's even worse, right?
Yeah, right.
But let's say that you have an old domain and you have a new domain. You 301 everything that is at the old domain to the new domain. Well, what about the robots.txt?
Yeah.
What about the XML sitemaps? Oh, those got redirected too. Terrible idea. Why? Because if you keep the sitemaps XML file and you keep the robots.txt there with the auto discovery of the XML sitemap, so it lists the sitemap URL there. So now you've maintained those two files as they were before. Now you're facilitating the discovery of the 301 redirects because all the old URLs are still in that XML sitemap. So now Google's just going to crawl through all of those URLs in the XML sitemap, discover all the 301s much more quickly, and then migrate over to the new URLs more quickly and efficiently. If you didn't do that, you just made that XML sitemap disappear 301 to the new XML sitemap that's all the new URLs. You're not facilitating the discovery of the 301s.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So lots of little nuances like that little, fish hooks and things that you got to watch out for. You got to make sure that, this is a very nice the 404 error page. Looks really pretty, has a little mini sitemap, HTML sitemap, and a nice search box and everything. Oh, but oops, it was returning a status code 200. It needed to return a 404, otherwise there's no edge. There are no edges to your site. Your site is just infinite because everything returns a 200. Nothing returns a 404. So you got to look for that and make sure that, or you get a 301 to an error page that's a 200 instead of a 404. That's the same problem. There are no edges to your site. You have an infinite website, and Google loses trust in your site when it can't believe that a URL that shouldn't exist would return a 404.
Yeah, I love this. I'm the technical side of this show, and I love talking about this stuff, but we're probably going up over some people's heads.
Probably.
Yeah, it's all good.
I'm an Uber geek and have been from day one. I mean, I taught myself computer programming when I was a kid.
Nice.
And I actually wrote my own bulletin board system from scratch back in the day when I was like 13 years old. From scratch.
Wow.
And people would call in to my home phone line. My mother would pick up the phone, try to make a call, and she'd hear the modem sounds and she'd scream up from the bottom of the stairs, "Get that thing off. I need to make a call." And I'd hang up on whoever was connected to my BBS. Yeah, pretty geeky.
Yeah. So, what was I going to say? Dang, I forgot. Go ahead. You got another one? Got another question?
Oh, yeah. Well, if you want to call in with your questions, make sure you call in 855-722-0006. Call in with your questions for our SEO expert guest, Stephan Spencer. One that we did have come in is about native advertising, and kind of, if you want me to explain kind of what is it, but their questions are, should we be using this and utilizing this strategy for content marketing and paid advertising campaigns?
Okay, so paid advertising is not really my bailiwick. I'm an SEO guy and an earned media sort of guy. I do some paid advertising, like on Facebook, so I know enough to be dangerous about things like custom audiences, lookalike audiences, and targeting and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But from an SEO perspective and a content marketing perspective to get links, native advertising, I would just be very careful about, because essentially you are trying to fool your human visitors and fool the search engines into thinking that this is editorial content when it's advertorial.
Right.
If you're not doing proper disclosures, you could get nailed by the FTC for lack of disclosure. I mean, it's risky.
Yeah.
So I'm all about adding massive value, provide results in advance, as Frank Kern likes to say, results in advance. Like if you want to teach somebody how to play the guitar online through a course, a video-based course, you teach them how to play the F chord for free, no strings attached, and then they feel some sense of success and gratitude for what you've done. You've given them results in advance, and then you can sell them the full course because they'll want to keep going. But if you disguise content that is actually advertising as something that is valuable, free editorial content, you're just setting yourself up to get smacked later on.
Right.
And remember too that Google is self-learning. It's all machine learning, deep learning, and so forth. And I can guarantee you there's a rap sheet on every single one of us over at the Googleplex. And as you do stuff and you think, I got away with it, I'm going to back down from it because it's kind of high risk now, but I got away with it for X number of months. Don't you think that Google's going to be able to reach back in time, look at all those old data repositories, kind of reverse engineer what you were doing, even after the fact, maybe a year or two later, and see, hey, you got this track record of spamming until the point where it gets a little risky, and then you back off. We don't like you.
You're right.
Right?
Yeah, they could span domains and everything you've had in the past, and
yeah, they can put all the dots together, connect all the dots. So a great example of this, not a Google example, but just conveys the risk here. All these companies were editing their own Wikipedia articles, and they thought, we're getting away with it because 2 years have gone by and our stuff stuck. It's stuck inside of the Wikipedia article, and then lo and behold, some graduate student out of Greece writes a tool called Wikiscanner that reaches back into time and all those historical changes and correlates, connects up the IP addresses of all anonymous edits with the IP block owner.
Oh, wow.
And say, look at that. There's an article about Cisco, for example, and somebody at Cisco, one of the IPs owned by Cisco, is going in and making all these changes to the Cisco article. Now, I just made that up about Cisco. I'm not picking on them. But then all this brouhaha erupted in the blogosphere because people were discovering all this conflict of interest violations. And so they were calling on the carpet all these different companies for editing their own articles years later. So you better believe this sort of stuff can happen at Google.
Yeah. You're going to get found out.
Yeah. So native advertising, I know is a big buzzword that is thrown around a lot in paid media.
Yeah.
And that's great for paid media. I would not apply it to earned media.
Yeah.
No, absolutely not. It seems just like some form of a certain form of manipulation. Kind of manipulating the user. It's very deceptive. I'm sure there's certain, methods to use it the right way, but overall, I'm still a little tentative to go that route.
Now, Stephan, I would be safe to say, and one thing I'm really happy about with all these changes that Google's made is it really has defined us as, an art. No pun intended, art of SEO.
Yeah.
But as a real skill, it's not something that just anybody can do, because if you're not following best practices, you're going to get hurt, in most cases, especially, once Penguin comes out, it's coming full circle. So we got to watch out.
I wholeheartedly agree.
Yeah.
We are artists, and we have to apply our art to making the web a better place.
Yep.
And the machine learning algorithms and deep learning algorithms, and then eventually the AIs will reward us for that, hopefully.
Yep. Yeah, I truly believe that. But I mean, our skill sets have become more diverse because we're not just doing ranking.
Yeah.
We're doing UX. We're doing, funnel conversion optimization, user experience, content. We're doing it all. So, I mean, it's definitely dynamically changing for us as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and the best SEOs are super creative.
Yeah.
They're able to act almost like an ad agency creative director, being able to dream up all sorts of brilliant campaigns. Like I did campaigns for clients where we got them from nowhere for really competitive terms, like business cards up to number 2 on page 1. Like a contest I did with Jeremy Shoemaker. Shoe Money is his nickname, very popular blogger and online influencer. We did that contest in conjunction with him and my client, overnightprints.com. And we crushed it. But we had to be creative. So getting the right partnership, like with Shoe Money, that was a genius idea I came up with. Having the contest be win-free business cards for life. There's something worth remarking about there. When I say remarkable, it's worth remarking about.
Yeah,
because win-free business cards for life sounds amazing, but in the fine print, it's quite inexpensive because it's 1,000 business cards per year for up to 20 years. I probably have enough money in my wallet to cover that.
Right.
It's so you just have to think differently and outside the box, be really creative, and whether it's a personality test or quiz or a viral video or checklist or worksheet or buyer's guide or how-to or a listicle, an infographic. There's so many different formats that we can could utilize, and then getting that seeded into social media, social networks through power user accounts so that it really spreads virally, not just our own accounts, because we don't have that kind of street cred. We don't have that kind of massive reach that a major influencer has. Like I have a lady working for me who is a power user on Reddit. Mm-hmm. Do you guys use Reddit much?
I do.
Yes.
Yeah. So there are 2 metrics that matter in Reddit. Do you guys know what those are? I hate to give you a quiz here, so if not, just I'll share with the listeners what those are.
Well, it's kind of the point system, isn't it?
Yeah, but they're 2. They have names. There's one called Link Karma, and the other is called Comment Karma.
Yes.
The one you really care about is Link Karma. If you want to reach lots of people, hit the front page of Reddit, which is the front page of the internet. Very popular site. And she is in the Century Club of Reddit, meaning she has over 100,000 Link Karma points.
Oh my gosh.
She has alt accounts that have over 100,000 Link Karma points.
Wow.
Well, alt accounts are when you just you don't want to use your main account for it, so you have a side account for it because you don't want to connect the dots too much. People get doxxed, and doxing is when you get outed as your personal identity and stuff. So she's been on Reddit for years. She's like a major power user, and when she submits stuff, you get like millions of hits to that content piece. Yeah. She created an account for me from scratch. Within 3 months, it had 16,000 Link Karma points, and she hit the front page with that account 3 or 4 times.
Wow.
Stephan, we are running to the end of the show, and I really want to get this. I want to hear what you're saying, but we're running out of time. I want to thank you for coming on the show. Guys, if you want to learn more about Stephan Spencer, you can go to stephanspencer.com.
Yes.
Again, if you could tell me that email again, if you're he's given us an exclusive deal here for the listeners on the show. You can get one of his books for free.
Yeah. admin@stephanspencer.com. So I believe if you you can request a free copy of one of his 3 books there. If you send that, please don't share it around. Don't shoot it through social media or through your company email or anything like that. just, one per person for our listeners. This is an awesome exclusive opportunity that O'Reilly, the publishing company, and Stephan are offering. So highly advise taking advantage of that.
Yeah, and those books are the Power Search, Google Power Search, The Art of SEO, and Social E-commerce.
Yes.
Exactly.
Thank you so much, Stephan,
we
for coming.
We hate to cut you off, but we really appreciate it.
Yeah, maybe we can have you back, because I enjoy it.
Yeah.
I would love to do that.
Yeah, okay. Well, hold on to the line when we're going to close out the show, and we'll be right back. Thanks, guys, for listening to Search Talk Live. We are here every Tuesday from 3:30 to 4:30 Eastern Standard Time. We're bringing in next week. We have Matt Weber, expert in paid search.
One of our local Orlando guys.
Yeah.
So excited about that.
We're going to talk retargeting and mistakes that people make in paid search and try how to avoid them.
Yeah.
But yes, thanks again for listening. Tune in next week and call into the show.
Yeah.
Ask questions. Do whatever you want.
Check out searchtalklive.com.
Yes. And we'd like to thank our sponsors, the Robert Palmer family of companies. See you next week.
See you next week.
Search Talk Live is a presentation of the Robert Palmer family of companies.